You're interested in comics, you gotta find a comic book store, right? When I was a kid, comics were everywhere. When I was a kid, you could go to the 7-Eleven, and I would get
newsstands.
I would get comic books, Kiss trading cards and bubble gum, and Jolly Ranchers. That was how I spent my allowance.
That's a great afternoon right
week.
there.
Yes, it is. That's a good time. I always talk about the three things that I think have produced this paradigm shift in the comics industry, and they are Image comics. Prior to the real rise of Image, more than 90% of our industry had been these two long storied shared universe superhero comic companies. Please don't hear this as an indictment of that. Getting to work at Marvel has been one of the greatest honors of my career. The Marvel Universe is the longest running continuous narrative in human history. And I got to sew on that quilt. And that is a big deal. One of the greatest privileges of my life, I'm sure. Because of the way the shared universe comics have come up, there is a high barrier to entry.
Yeah, and it takes sense to crack that code.
You're interested in comics, you gotta find a comic book store, right? When I was a kid, comics were everywhere. When I was a kid, you could go to the 7-Eleven, and I would get
newsstands.
I would get comic books, Kiss trading cards and bubble gum, and Jolly Ranchers. That was how I spent my allowance.
That's a great afternoon right there.
Yes, it is. That's a good time. But now they're not everywhere. You have to go to these specialty stores, right? And then those specialty stores, if you're used to a bookstore, can you imagine a bookstore that that was organized by publisher? Right? Can you imagine going? I mean, yes. I'm sorry. I'm looking for the Random House section. Penguin. Yes, the Red Desk.
You're right. That makes no sense.
So we don't shelve by genre in a comic book store. We shelve by publisher, right? Which is just okay. Like, say you're sort of vaguely interested in, I don't know, Superman, right? Like, okay, I want a Superman book, and you go and you look at the wall of new releases, and maybe they're alphabetical on the new release board instead of by publisher. But okay, so you're looking for Superman, but there's Superman down in the S's, and then there's also Superman in the A's because it's All-Star Superman, and you're like, oh, okay, and then, all right, well, where do I start? Do I start with A? I mean, and then like, oh, well,
not very welcoming to new readers.
The one that's out in A is number 6 of 14 parts, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So yeah, so new readership's like, you come in there and you're like, and you leave, right? But at Image Comics, it works like any other book you have ever understood how to buy, right? So, I am interested in a crime story, so I can find a crime story. Like, you really only need to understand that world. So if you've read a novel series as a kid, you can read an Image comic book. And so that's a big part. Another one is the MCU, the success of the Marvel films, which brought a lot of readers into the industry. Then the third is the internet and digital comics, because if you had trouble getting over that hump of gatekeeping, you could go to Wikipedia and help you figure out where to start, or you could go to a comics community on Tumblr or Comixology or any of it, and people will bend over backwards to recommend books and starting places for you. If you have an iPad or a desktop or a phone, if you have a phone, you have a comic book store in your pocket. So those things have changed the landscape.